Hello, friends. This is Arthur Woods, and this is Communication 16007. Hello. Sorry for the brief pause in my launch preparations. There's been a lot of developments in the meantime, but it has not been possible for me to do one of these communications for the last week or so, but I'll explain that in a minute. What's very interesting is that the flight controllers here at the Cosmodrome have told me that before my actual launch to the space station can take place, there will be a preliminary launch of a supply ship. Now, the supply ship will take, of course, additional supplies necessary for living on the space station for me and the rest of the crew, but also will contain a large contingent of art materials, which I will be using once I'm at the Greater.Earth space station, because in addition to the art interventions that I'll be working on, I will be doing other art activities once I'm there, including actually painting in space about making images of the Earth from my perspective, the overview of the Earth. Okay, but back to what I've been working on is it was necessary for me to create a website dedicated to one of our art interventions, and it's very similar to the website I made for the Space Peace Star. It's called the Space Option Star. Now, the Space Option Star is a brilliant object which will also be visible in the sky to most of the world's population, and that's why it's called a star. And it's based on the form called the icosahedron. Now, we've been working with the icosahedron since the early 90s when we used it as part of our SEEDS project, and the Millennium Seed was actually an icosahedron concept. And in 2003, the European Space Agency asked us to look at these inflatable concepts for some purposes that they had in mind. And at that time, we did look at the icosahedron, and that information that we learned during this study actually has formed the basis for the technical definition of the Space Option Star, which we are using as one of our art interventions once I get to the Greater-Earth space station. So the icosahedron is a very interesting object, of course, because it's similar to a sphere, and it's actually one of the 5 Platonic solids. As an interesting sidelight, the visionary Buckminster Fuller, back in the 50s, he mapped the planet Earth onto the icosahedron, and they called this the Dymaxion map. And I find it very interesting because it actually directly connects the icosahedron to the Earth, and actually that connects it to the Greater Earth concept. So that's very interesting, and you see that in the animation behind me. Now, the Space Option Star is a very interesting intervention because it would be an early demonstration of space solar power in space. Now, there's quite a lot of information, there's been a lot of research in the idea of using space solar power to meet humanity's future energy needs, and also to address some of the issues associated with climate change and global warming and CO2, because power from space, solar power from space, would be totally without any CO2. So if we are really serious about the impact of CO2 in the environment, then we should definitely look at the possibilities about using space solar power instead of other forms of energy to meet the planet's future energy needs. Well, this would be an in situ a demonstration of space solar power, and actually, because it's an early demonstration, it would not directly transmit energy from space to the planet, because that would take a much more sophisticated system than what we're planning to do in an art intervention. But what it would do would be to capture energy in space from the sun and transmit it to an auxiliary spacecraft. And that's what you see in the images that I'm producing about the Space Option Star, is that next to it there's an auxiliary spacecraft. Now, how the concept would work is that the Space Option Star will be covered with photovoltaics, and because it's a spherical object, it would be totally receiving sunlight from the sun as it rotates in orbit. So there's no problem with the positioning of it. And in the center of the space option star will be a device which will convert the sunlight into energy that can be used, and it will then transmit this electricity or this energy to the auxiliary spacecraft, which will receive it and use that energy to power a communication system which would communicate with stations located on the surface of the Earth. And these could be in museums, or they could be in universities or in other public places, to make it a very multimedia interactive event that could involve a lot of people. And of course, putting a star in the sky, almost everyone on the planet would see that, and they would wonder what the star is all about. And of course, this brings the attention to our underlying concept, which we call the space option, which has been the philosophical background for these works and for the works I've been working on for the last 20 or 30 years. So the space option concept, very basic, means using the resources of space, especially those located in the Greater.Earth region, to meet some of humanity's issues down on the planet. So we're not talking about really colonizing space. We're talking about meeting the needs of humanity on the surface of the planet in using space technologies, and those technologies are found in, can be located in Greater.Earth. And so it's an Earth-Earth or an Earth-Greater.Earth win-win situation. So anyway, I want to share with you the recent video we've made of how the space option star will look like in Earth orbit, well, along with its auxiliary spacecraft. And this is a very beautiful video, and we'll be talking about this project much more once I finally arrive at the Greater.Earth space station. So that's it for now. I hope you'll stay with me. I'm sorry for the slight delay, and I hope you'll join me in Greater.Earth in the very near future. So, Arthur Woods, Communication 16007. Goodbye for now.